Ever find yourself thinking, well, that wasn't so bad after a fender bender?
Happens all the time.
But then imagine years later, you're sitting in court facing accusations of playing up those seemingly minor injuries.
Oof, yeah.
Accusations that you're basically in it for a multi-million-dollar payout? That's the wild ride we're going on today.
Buckle up.
The Rathwell v. Shorey case. This one's a doozy.
It really is. And what's fascinating here, it's not even about who caused the accident. The defendant, they already fessed up.
So we're not playing the blame game this time?
Nope. This one's a deep dive into, well, chronic pain.
Always a tricky subject.
It is. Dueling medical opinions.
Oh, boy.
And the big one, how do you fairly compensate for injuries? Especially when there's not always a clear-cut answer.
Right, because pain, it's subjective, right?
100%.
It's different for everyone.
And that's where this case, it gets really interesting. So
Yeah.
Let's rewind to the start.
Take us back.
We've got Jessica Rathwell, an elementary school teacher, right?
Okay.
Studying to become a counselor.
Yeah.
One evening, bam, rear-ended on her way home from class
Just like that.
by Travis Shorey, who was visiting from Edmonton.
Okay.
Seems like your everyday open and shut minor fender bender.
Right. On the surface, yeah.
Hold on. Here's where it takes a turn.
Mhm.
Rathwell, she claims this seemingly minor crash
Yeah.
triggered a whole cascade of serious injuries.
Like, give me the rundown.
Okay, so we're talking chronic pain, of course,
Mhm.
herniated disc in her neck,
Ouch.
and she says this derailed her whole dream of becoming a counselor.
Wow.
But the big one, a traumatic brain injury.
Serious stuff.
Serious and expensive. We're talking a $3 million lawsuit.
$3 million. That's a lot of zeros.
That's not all. Remember Shuri's legal team?
Yeah, they're not just rolling over.
Not a chance. They're not disputing the accident itself. They're challenging her version of how bad those injuries really were.
And the impact on her life.
Exactly. So you can see where this is going.
Oh, yeah. This has courtroom showdown written all over it.
You got it. It becomes a battle of the medical experts,
Who's got the best doctor on speed dial?
basically. Rathwell's experts, they line up, right?
Yeah.
Ready to back her up, painting a picture of debilitating, life-altering injuries.
And the other side.
Oh, they're not just sitting there. They come back swinging. They've got their own neurologist,
Yeah.
reviews all the same evidence,
Mm.
and basically says, nah, I don't buy it.
Just like that.
These symptoms, they don't scream traumatic brain injury to me.
Okay, so classic he said, she said, but with, like, medical jargon as the weapon of choice.
And here's where those inconsistencies in Rathwell's testimony, they come into play.
Because it's not just about the doctors, is it?
Exactly. The judge has to consider everything, including her personal testimony. How did this accident really impact her life?
And those inconsistencies don't really help her case, do they?
Let's just say that they raise some eyebrows. There are discrepancies in how she describes the head injury, for one.
Okay, so red flag number one.
Then there's her academic performance after the accident. Different stories there.
Uh-oh.
Even the hours she claims she worked doesn't quite add up.
So the judge is stuck, trying to untangle the truth.
It gets even trickier. Remember chronic pain? We talked about this.
Yeah, how do you prove it?
Exactly. It's subjective.
Yeah.
How do you measure its impact? Especially, think about it, what if she had other issues before the accident?
Pre-existing conditions.
Exactly. It's like trying to solve a puzzle where some of the pieces might be from a completely different box.
And the judge has to make sense of it all.
And that is what makes Rathwell v. Shorey so fascinating.
Mhm.
It throws a spotlight on just how hard it is for the courts to deal with chronic pain cases. It shows just how much our understanding of pain, of how our physical and mental states, they're all tangled up.
It's all connected.
Exactly, how that's evolving.
So, to recap, we've got conflicting medical opinions, we've got holes in the plaintiff's story, and this incredibly complex issue of chronic pain at the center of it all. What happens next? You'll have to wait and see, because we're diving back into the courtroom. And the judge's verdict, well, let's just say it's not what anyone expected. All right, back to Rathwell v. Shorey. We've heard the arguments, we've seen the evidence, but what did the judge actually decide?
Well, let's just say the judge's verdict threw a curveball. Surprised both sides.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat here. Did Rathwell get her $3 million?
Not even close.
Really?
The judge awarded her $55,000.
$55,000. That's a far cry from $3 million. What happened?
So the judge, he really dug into the evidence.
Okay.
Acknowledged that, yeah, she definitely had some soft tissue injuries from the crash.
Right.
And that she was dealing with real pain.
Okay.
But here's the catch.
That's the catch.
He wasn't convinced about the herniated disc
Oh.
and the traumatic brain injury
Well,
claim.
yeah.
Completely dismissed it.
Wow. So that explains the lower damages. But what about her argument, that her future career was affected?
So the judge did award her some money for future care,
Okay.
but, and this is a big but,
Hit me with it.
he basically said she needed to look into treatments that addressed more than just the physical. Like, he specifically mentioned cognitive behavioral therapy.
CBT. So he's acknowledging the psychological side of chronic pain.
Exactly. It's like he's saying, look, I believe you're in pain, but we need to explore all avenues here.
Interesting. So it's not just about masking the pain, it's about understanding where it comes from.
Right. It's that mind-body connection. CBT, it can help reframe those negative thought patterns.
Because those thoughts, they can make the pain even worse, can't they?
Exactly. It's not just about fixing a broken bone. Chronic pain is complex. It's about the whole person.
In this case, it feels like it could signal a real shift in how the legal system approaches these cases.
100%. It's not every day you see a judge basically guiding a plaintiff's treatment plan, but it makes sense, right?
It does. So what about the other side? What did Shori's team have to say about all this?
Oh, they breathed a sigh of relief. They admitted fault for the accident, but dodging that $3 million payout, that's a win in their book.
Big time.
But it just goes to show these cases, they're never straightforward. Chronic pain, it throws a wrench in everything.
So much to unpack here. We've got the medical mystery, the credibility of the plaintiff, and now this whole conversation about how we treat chronic pain.
And that's what makes Rathwell v. Shorey such a fascinating case study.
Because it's bigger than just this one car accident, isn't it?
It really is. It's about how we understand pain itself, how the legal system wraps its head around something so subjective, so personal.
It's like this case, it just throws open the door to a much bigger conversation. What is fair compensation? How do we prove something we can't see?
And how do we make sure that people who are truly suffering, they get the help they need?
So many questions, and Rathwell v. Shorey doesn't give us all the answers, but it certainly gets you thinking. We've talked about the accident, the evidence, even the judge's decision, but this Rathwell v. Shorey case, it feels bigger than that, doesn't it?
It really does.
Like throwing a pebble in a pond. What kind of ripples is this case making?
Perfect analogy. This case, it could change things. Big time. Especially when it comes to these personal injury lawsuits.
Because before, it seemed more clear-cut.
Right. You show the injury, you calculate lost income, maybe tack on something for pain and suffering, and there's your number.
But this case, it throws a wrench in that system.
Completely. It shows how tough it is to put a price tag on chronic pain.
Especially now when we're learning more and more about how complicated pain really is.
Exactly. It's not just physical. There's the mental side, the emotional side.
So where do we go from here? How do you decide what's fair when everyone experiences pain differently?
$1 million question. This case makes you think we need to take a closer look at those expert witnesses.
You mean the doctors?
Yeah. It's not enough to just have them say, yep, there's an injury, or nope, don't see it. We need experts who can explain the whole picture.
Help the jury understand.
Right. What is chronic pain? How does it affect someone's life? Because it's different for everyone.
And that changes everything, doesn't it?
Everything. Lawyers, insurance companies, even doctors, they're all going to have to adapt.
Because if we're talking about the whole person, not just the injury.
Exactly. We might start seeing more emphasis on psychology, looking at pre-existing conditions, and definitely focusing on treatments that address both the physical and the mental.
It's a more holistic approach.
That's it. It's not just about slapping a Band-Aid on the symptoms.
So this case, Rathwell v. Shorey, it could be a real turning point.
Absolutely. It's forcing us to rethink things. How we treat chronic pain, how we talk about it in court.
It's making waves.
Big waves. And for your listeners out there, especially those dealing with chronic pain themselves,
Yeah. What's the takeaway? What do they need to know?
you're not alone. This case, it just highlights how common chronic pain is.
And how tough it can be to get the right help.
Exactly. So keep asking questions. Advocate for yourselves, for your health. And keep pushing for better treatment, better understanding. Because things are changing.
Rathwell v. Shorey. It's a case that makes you think about the complexities of pain, about fairness, about what it means to heal.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And on that note, we'll leave you with those questions. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. It's been quite a journey.